Okay, well, welcome to the Matthew Shed Shop, folks. We've been working on some 025 MS250 saws. I've got an MS250 over here, but I've only got this one handle that I thought had a really good repair on it, and not so much. And so I have to decide what I'm going to do about the MS250. I really don't want to set it up with an 025 top cover. And they are different, you guys. If anybody's watched the other videos that I've been posting, you'll see I keep mentioning this is squared and the 250 is round. And so the air filter covers are different too. And also the 250, the name badge is on the recoil, and on the 025s it's on the top. And so I really would like to keep it as an MS250 because the porting's different, and a lot of guys prefer the older saws. Like with the 025 MS250 or the 018 180, a lot of guys think the older saws are more powerful. And on the 025s, I tend to agree, because I think it's because the porting. I no longer have the MS250 cylinder in front of me. I might have a roached one somewhere. Yeah, here we go. I got a roached one I can show you. No, incorrect. That's an 025. The MS250, this transfer channel right here, has a split down it. So I guess I would call it dual split transfer port on an MS250 and open dual transfer ports on the 025s. And I think I don't know much about chainsaw porting, but I understand a little bit about the airflow and stuff. And I know I could port if I had a steady hand. It's simply a matter of getting timing numbers. And so if you have a wheel and a Dremel and stuff. Anyways, rabbit trail. What are we going to call this video? That's what I need to be doing, is starting my videos with what I'm going to call them, because it will help me stay organized when I need to post videos, to title them and to do better in my descriptions. Also, one thing I really want to try to start doing better is putting links for you guys. If I've featured a part or a tool or something, I need to do better at giving you links. And so I will try to start doing that as well. This video is going to be called, let's see. It's going to be the 025 MS250 rebuilding, but it's going to be continued rebuild of an 025. So on this 025 today, let's see where we're at. I'm going to go ahead. You guys don't have to look at my ugly face no more. Around here. I don't know if that cut off. I was saying we'll turn you around here. And we'll get you down pointed at where my work area is. I hadn't wanted the whole bench set up for all this and to do it kind of an assembly line, but we need bearings. And so we only had two saws. The other one, the MS250, has brand new bearings on it already. I had one set of bearings left. They're on this 025. And we're going to rock and roll with it. So these certain things have to be put on in certain order on these 025 MS250s and several other Stihl chainsaws. They're weird. But what we've gotten done to this, we've got all our worm gear and everything on. There's a video on that I did title it last night. Well, this morning. And so here's the situation, guys. I worked all night. Shot a bunch of videos all night. I ordered breakfast. I've been ordering food out more frequently. Hey, I need a wife. Just so you guys know, a traditional wife. A wife that doesn't mind accepting that men and women are different. Buntings, come inside out of the rain. Good dog. What doing the Buntings? We're making the video for the YouTube world. Hey guys, you want to see a little, this is how I am. This is how serious I am about life right now. This is Buntings. This is Angel with her cheap Chinese collar that lights up, but we can see her at night. And so she don't gotta get run over when we walk at night, because a lot of times we don't have time to walk during the day. So she has like 50,000 nicknames. Let's see. We got Buntings, Fat Dog, What Doings, Wantings. Oh boy, how many more names you got, Fat Dog, huh? And so she's my sweet girl. I love her very much. She's 5. She's a husky Weimaraner blue nose, and it's raining and she's sitting in the rain. I don't like it. She doesn't lay in the shed very often because it's kind of small. Stay out of the rain, Buntings. You just had to bath, and I got to do your flea medicine. Oh, yeah. Got to order her a Seresto collar. Best flea treatment prevention ever, in my opinion. Averages out to about $10 a month. I'm trying to get you guys situated here. Sorry. Buntings, I see you. Okay, so let's see how we're doing there. That looks okay. I'll move you forward just a little bit. I think that ought to be okay. So on this saw, we've got all these parts. I'm not doing the chain brake handle. It's always easier to put the top cover / rear handle assembly on without the chain brake there. This annuller, we've replaced that. It can be difficult to get in there, especially a brand new one. It's nice and stiff, and it's not as pliable when they're new. They're not as soft, so to speak. So we've got a brand new fuel line. We've got a new fuel pickup body. We've got the new impulse hose, which will move to the handle. It's easier to put it on the handle first usually. So I think I probably will move it to the handle. We'll see if we can't get it on. We've got a new tank vent, which is aftermarket, and we've changed the hose on it here to a little bit better quality hose. I think it's just a basic duckbill vent. It's simply to allow air into the tank but not out, so that the atmospheric pressure inside the tank is equal to that outside the tank, so that your carburetor can function properly. So, pretty simple thing, but your chainsaw will not run properly if your tank vent is not operating properly. That's almost a given. Same with your O-ring on your gas cap. If everything's not sealed the way it's supposed to, it doesn't pressurize. And so we're going to go on and continue, and I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I want to do next? And for me, I am thinking I want to go ahead and get this handle on. I don't see anything else that we would need to put on. I'm not saying that's correct. I could have missed something. I don't see anything right immediately. I just have to switch these. The spark plug boot is supposed to go in first into this groove here. I think it works a lot better that way anyways. And so we're just going to switch it. There we go. Easy enough. Maybe. Huh. Boy, it doesn't want to stay in there. Okay. Might have to work that back into that channel there. I am going to have to, it seems. Let's see. No, I had it right. That's the problem. I had it right, and I doubted myself. Sorry, guys. Let me fix this debauchery. Now, I'm not pushing real hard with this flathead because, you know, you don't want to puncture your casing here. Your wire casing, your wire jacket. So just being cautious how I push that. And this one's even more fragile, so that's why I'm not using the blunt end of the screwdriver there. Okay, so that's back in where it should be. And it might pop out, but we'll give it a whirl. Yeah, see, I knew it would. Alright, we'll deal with that later before we add our recoil and everything. So, how do you put this rear handle on? Well, you're going to have multiple things, and that's a good thing. We're going to grab one of our new impulse boot, and we're going to put that on. And now, this does not have a clamp, which has always kind of shocked me that a piece of plastic seals this, but it does. And then we're going to grab the shroud out of our box here. And if you guys have seen the other videos, you know I'll be going to boxes and stuff. I wanted to have all this out on the bench, but unfortunately, it didn't work that way. So then we have this piece here, and that will go, our impulse hose has got to go in there, intake boot there, and that will be for our spark plug, which we do not have in yet. We'll go that, and then you do have to press this on. If it goes on too easy, you guys, then you probably need to replace either this unit of your chainsaw, this part of your chainsaw, or you will need to replace your intake boot, because this does seal the intake boot to the cylinder And I have mentioned in other videos, you can use a little bit of Stihl all or a little bit of Permatex. You just have to do it the absolute proper way. I am struggling to get this on straight, and it's because I need to see, and that's why those wires never should have been in there in the first place. I'm gonna work everything. You just gotta work with it, you guys. Some of these saws, especially Stihl, my goodness, Husqvarna was never this bad, but Stihl can be a little bit difficult at times. Okay, sorry guys, sometimes I do struggle a little bit myself, and it seems this is one of those times. I'll tell you what will help that. I'm just going to use a little press oil right here on the outside to help this slide over this boot properly. Now you can use like penetrating oil, two-stroke oil, spit. I call this spit in a bottle. And this will dry clear. It will disappear, it will evaporate. Not dry clear. And it doesn't leave any residue. That just doesn't want to go on the bottom here. Yeah, we had problems with this. It shouldn't be this hard. It should slide over that boot a little better than that. Alright, tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the impulse line out the way. Carefully, because this is a brand new impulse line. Okay. Get that out the way, and then we'll try again here. I don't recall the 25 and the 250s having separate shrouds here, but we will check that if we continue to struggle. You know, I remember you're supposed to have this boot in this thing on before you mount your cylinder. It is a pain to get them on after it's been mounted, now that I recall. And so we'll learn from our mistake. But in the meantime, I don't want to remove the cylinder if I don't have to, because then I've got to re-Permatex it. So I'm just trying a little bit of brute force here and shimmying at the right angle, and it's starting to go. It's just not going naturally because, as I said, it should have technically already been on the saw. If this was an 017 or a 180, I could easily pull the top end and not have to worry. I'm going to try something here, guys. I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah. I like that. That is working well. Not damaging anything, not pushing anything out from where it's supposed to be. Okay, good. So, lesson learned too. As long as you're careful and you're watching everything, everywhere it can catch, everywhere it can snap, everywhere it can break, everywhere it can rip your boot. And we have got it on flush. Our boot looks like it is nice and square to the bottom. Can you guys see that? Our boot is flush against the cylinder. We'll give it a little bit more taparooski, or actually pusharooski, I suppose, just to make sure. All right, now, that does make those wires a little bit of a challenge, but this thing is pretty flexible that you can tuck these wires right behind it back here where they want to be. Bam, just like that. Now, as I was saying before, we've got a few things we've got to work through here. I think when you have this on, it is difficult to grab this up underneath with pliers and put it on here, more so than it is to trying to shimmy it through that hole. With your recoil cover off, we can reach it through here. And so that is what we're going to do. So I did a little spit in a bottle, press oil. We'll put our impulse hose. And since it's brand new, it's definitely going to be tight. I like it. Good. Okay. Our fuel line goes through here. We have our wires. I just wish I could see what you guys are seeing. We have our wires that are going to go through there. Obviously, our intake boot is going to go through here. We'll get a spark plug in after we get this on, hopefully. And then our tank vent goes right up through here. So, that's all the stuff we've got to feed through. And so, first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my impulse hose kind of lined up here. And then we will have this grommet to contend with up front, but that is a little easier to work in at the end since our chain brake is not in our way. Okay, I've got my impulse hose lined up with the hole here just to kind of get it started. And now I'm going to get my boot through. My wires through. I usually do the boot last. Because once you put the boot on, you have a lot less room to work behind this. So we just feed our wires through the hole. I don't know if you guys can see. I hope you can. And then that grommet is more of a dust grommet more than anything. We'll get that grommet on. And that is just something, you guys, that kind of you put one side of it in the hole and you start working it through. And you can work this particular grommet through either side. It's often easier, if you can, to leave it on this side. Like on the 290s, I have to just come, the 290s, it's down here. I just come through and pull that thing through first right away. Because otherwise it's a real pain. Now we can do our intake boot here. And these, I always tell people, try if you can to do it with your fingers first. If you can't get it with your fingers all the way, go on and use pliers, but just be extremely careful. For sake of showing you, I'm going to use the needle nose pliers. I'm not even going to try with my fingers. I think I pretty easily could get it with some press oil. But I'm just going to carefully, you got to grab meat. And if it's aftermarket, don't do this. Don't even use an aftermarket boot, in my opinion. I haven't found one that I can back yet. So always OEM on my saws for the intake boots. Even when it's a 441, it's a $150 boot, I think it was. So I'm just very carefully, I'm grabbing a lot of meat, but I'm not squeezing too hard. You just kind of got to know, you guys, the feel. And then if you're working on your own saw, really take your time unless you're willing to spend the money on buying a new one and have to wait for it to come. All right, so there we go. Our wires, hose, intake boot, fuel tank vent. Let's go over here. And what we're going to do is finish getting this impulse hose through. And one of my favorite things for working on this kind of stuff right now, when we've got a long reach, is these are flat. They're not crimped like these regular needle nose. You can see they're like, they got teeth to bite. These do not. But they work great for grabbing fuel lines out of tanks and stuff. Putting fuel tank vents on. And, for example, feeding this tube through right now. Now, I thought I had this. This is what could be a little bit difficult now. Because I thought I had this already started in this hole. And that can be the hardest part. So, you guys will just have to bear with me and know that all we're doing is matching the hose up with the hole, pushing it through to give us enough to bite on the other side. So it's pretty common sense. Okay, we've got that through. Now we have to work it onto our nipple back there. And again, this is kind of a hard thing to show you guys. It's just kind of, you just kind of got to do it. Maybe the guys with specialty cameras and stuff can show you particularly, but I'm just sliding it on the nipple. And usually they go a lot easier. But this one's, I'm struggling to get it all the way. Make sure that press oil is closed. I have spilt that half of it before. And then the next one, I'll do it the other way to show you guys. Okay, that's on there. You can see down in there. Impulse hose is on the nipple. So that's done. Now, we're going to move up front here. Let me get some tools out of the way, so I don't get too much crowded. We're at 20 minutes, so we'll go a little bit further on this saw. I'm surprised it's because I'm jabbering. That's why. If we were just working and not talking, I would have been a lot further along. Okay, that's press oil. And these, honestly guys, the service manual just says you work them in. I have found that if I get a screwdriver, like it's easy because this one's not in, but I'll usually work a screwdriver in there. This way. And I'm kind of just helping get that lip in started. And then once I get it started enough, I can usually, with press oil and a new thing, I can usually, not always, can usually get them to go through with just squeezing. And whatever way you can get this worked in, you guys, just like that, it goes flush, and then there'll be a what's called an AV stop, a little plastic stop that goes in there. We're not going to put it in yet in case we have to take things back apart. All right, so now that that's on, what can we do next? Well, we could put our wrap handle on, but that might get in the way of some things. Our recoil could go on, and that doesn't really get in our way. We can start doing our chain brake assembly. Mufflers are not done yet. We could do the dog spikes, and so we're just going to start adding things, because at this point, basically, we're almost at a point to where we're in an order of, we can do it in any order. Okay, so I'm going to start grabbing some stuff that we need. We're going to go over here to the parts box and grab our nicest 025 recoil. We are going to grab chain brake handle. We are going to grab a nicest air filter cover. We'll not grab clutch cover yet. We're going to grab our nicest chain brake parts cover. And I'm just going to kind of set this stuff up here out of the way. We've got our recoil. We've got our air filter cover. We've got our brake handle. And we've got our brake parts cover. I don't know why I have these out. We're going to put them back. All right. So, this is the fun part. We're just going to start putting this all back together. Now, I've got all my hardware over here, guys, nice and organized. And so I'm just going to be grabbing pieces out of it. And I might not know all the technical names of this stuff, so bear with me. All right. Like this one. I looked it up today for you guys so I could tell you as we did this. I forget what it's called. I forget what they call this part. But we need that. We need this part. We need a couple of these tiny retaining clips. There will be one or two depending on the setup we use, which we'll probably use this spring. This is the spring that prevents your handle from flopping around. And it is going to go, I believe, if I'm looking at it right. I might be wrong, but it should go right on like so in there. Nope. Sorry. There we go. That's butter. And these are usually pretty loose, guys. That's normal. What I like to do is just close this up a bit. And that just helped tighten it up a little. Sometimes that one it did not. The other thing you can do is we can take and we're going to bend it this way. We're trying to essentially make it a little longer so that it fits in the space it's laying in tighter. Okay, and then once the chain brake handle's in there, that's loose, but once we slide the chain brake handle in there, it's going to push tension right here, and that won't be able to move out of there And then that, just like I said, just keeps your chain brake handle from doing this while your saw is operating and the chain brake is disengaged. All right, and we will also need a spring, a long spring. We got our spring. We will need, what else will we need for our chain brake parts? We will need a spacer. There's a spacer that goes in there. Where are my spacers? I thought I had them right here. Oh, that's right, I moved them because I wanted a compartment for an extra part here. So I do have to dig it out. Okay, we'll need one of these spacers. And I do believe, I could be wrong, but I do believe that's all our brake parts. And then the cover gets put on with these two short T25 screws. Alright, that's that. So, you get your chain brake handle, you guys, that press all, boy, I always forget to close this, and this was an $8 tube of oil, and I spilt like 2/3 of it within the first week of having it, because I don't like the way they've done it. I think it should have a duckbill release on the top, to where the fluid can only flow one way. Alright, and then this, so this part here, again, you guys, I looked up the names of these parts for this video, and I've already forgotten them all. That is how my brain works. I should have written them down, and I would have remembered them better. But this is going to hook to your chain brake band and your spring. Now, this only goes one way. You can see how this is kind of hooked more at the top. At least every Stihl chainsaw I've worked on that I can recall right now in my brain, that's always going to be up. And your spring is going to hook to that, and your chain brake band will go in here. So this one's just kind of straight. This one's hooked. And you might think it goes the other way, but it doesn't. It won't work. That just slides in your chain brake handle on the top here, the front of the saw. And you can see it's going to go there. And it's going to go on this pin on our saw right here. So, with that, I always forget the order. I believe on this one, sometimes they're different. I believe the spacer goes after this. But a lot of times the only way I have, if I don't want to pull up pictures, which I'm not going to, is I just try it one way, and if it don't work, I put it the other way. It's as simple as that. So, basically, these, you just kind of got to finesse them into where they need to be sometimes. I don't really have a good way of explaining it. These chain brake handles can be interesting and challenging to work with, to say the least. So, just kind of trying to get close to where I need to be here. Get that, goes on there. I know you guys are probably looking at my head right now, but there's only so far a guy that's new to doing videos can do. I do have to be considerate of how much time I spend on a job that should only be an hour long. I like to get saws like this put back together in no more than 2 hours. So that will go on there. I believe that's correct in terms of our spacer. Then our spacer goes on right here. Let me make sure you guys can still see what I'm doing. And then this darn thing, I forget what it's called. So you're going to see you got one side that you can hook on and slide into the hole. And then the other side is just a circle. So this side goes where your chain brake handle is here, where my thumb's moving. And we just slide that on over till it gets on there. And then that's where this tiny little clip comes in. I'm shocked that I don't have 100 of these in my hardware box, but I definitely need to order some because they do tend to get lost. So I have exactly the 6 that I need. I could pull from another saw. I don't want to, so I'm trying to ensure I don't lose them. That's why they're in that little bag. All right, and then this guy, all you got to do is set it on here. Sometimes you can even push them on, the little ones on with your fingers. But if you can't, you just grab by the post, put your needle nose against your post, and just barely, so that you can push the clip but not run into this rod, this sleeve we have here, whatever this darn thing is called that I forget. And that's clipped on there, and that's it. Next, we're going to go ahead and do our spring and our chain brake band. And with that, the spring, the long part will always go forward to hook, and the coil will always come back. They do make a tool to move these over to here, a special tool to grab it. I don't have one. I don't ever use the spring puller. You could use a hook, whatever. For me, it's always easiest just to kind of grab it over here with needle nose real tight. And then I take my hand. Can you guys still see what I'm doing? Let me move closer. And then I take my hand, I'm taking my thumb, and I'm pushing my needle nose. I grab tight, I'm pushing, pulling all at the same time very carefully, because these things hurt if they spring out and hit you. And then I'm just going to hook that on that hook. I'm going to hold it with my thumb to make sure it doesn't go nowhere. And it's good. And I'm just going to push that down just to be sure it's on there. It is. Next, we're going to do our chain brake band. I did not grab one, so let me go on and do that real quick. I've got a stack of them in this box here. Okay, we got our chain brake bands here. Those come out beautiful out of the ultrasonic parts washer, I think. They came out real nice. That one's chipped up. We won't use that. It's why it's good. I like when the parts have to come in front of me a ton of times, because then I don't miss stuff. I don't like missing stuff. This has a brand new OEM sprocket on it. It's real pretty. I kind of always like putting new OEM steel. Okay, so for your chain brake band, it's easier to disengage. So that means pull your chain brake handle back, disengaged. You're going to just kind of hook this onto your part that I already forgot the name of, the lever there. And you're just going to work it into its groove behind the sprocket, and this just pushes in. Now this spring itself, this particular spring, does not have a screw that holds it in. I've got to push the pin up. I've never seen one slip down like that. But such is life. Things happen. The pin has moved inside the band, which is weird. I didn't think they could move. Okay, bear with me. We're going to have to use a little bit of tappy forcey here again. Normally this just slides right in, you guys. It really does. It's not usually that difficult. I feel like we have a situation in which, yeah, that pin has somehow shifted. And so I'll have to fix that. I don't want to dally with it right now. So that's a good thing of having all these bands right here. I'll just take this one out, potentially. Goodness sakes. Well, the struggle sometimes is funny. Now, y'all saw me just slide that in there nice and easy, and now it won't come out. I'll be darned. Okay, we're just gonna, instead of fighting with it, guys, I'm just taking stuff and moving it out of my way. And this is why I say these videos, they do make the build so much slower. Because doing what I just did on video, I don't know, it took me, I don't even know how long. And so there's a groove here, you guys, on your sprocket that's got to line up with your worm gear. That's in a previous video. Okay, and then your retaining washer goes on. And then your retaining clip, same as the little one. We just set it in its groove. Use the crankshaft to hold it. Make sure we're above our retaining washer with our needle nose tip, and slide that on. Now, which was which here? Okay. Does appear this is the one that was shifted. I can't tell though. It was just such a minute amount. I kind of never really seen one not slide in the groove just right away like that one just did there. See how easy that was? This little pin has moved somehow in this. So we'll have to fix that. I was trying just to squeeze it right through on the saw and it didn't go. Maybe we can get it now. Yeah, I know. So we will mess with that later. We'll probably forget that it was an issue and we'll mess with it when we run it. Oh, here it is. This is the one. That's why. And we'll, you guys can see. Let me just show you what I was dealing with in case you run into the same thing. You'll know what the problem was. You can see right here how little of that is exposed. And let me grab this other one. Okay. I'll just show you. I don't know how well the camera picks that up, but I think it's pretty obvious what I see on my screen. You can see this one has shifted out some. I think that's very obvious even with the unfocus. So that's why it wouldn't go in its groove. So we'll have to see if we can't fix that. I'm sure we can. If it moved one way, it should be able to move the other way, but who knows? It's a crazy world we live in. Okay, what are we at for time? 36 minutes. All right, guys. So then this cover goes on. It just simply sits there. I'd strongly recommend just use Loctite where you can. The only place I don't use Loctite is on my cylinder bolts if I have a Permatex gasket, because the Loctite and the Permatex, the Loctite will prevent the Permatex from doing its job, and the Permatex will prevent the Loctite from doing its job. So you don't want your Permatex not working, because guess what? Then you've got to rebuild your whole saw. So I don't use and these are T25 heads, you guys. I don't use the Loctite on cylinder bolts because I've had it get into my Permatex and prevent it from creating a good gasket. It creates a little air pocket channel. It's essentially like oil and water. They just don't mix. The Permatex, the Loctite just kind of like turns the Permatex into liquid almost, if it's still wet. Now if it's dry, the Loctite won't phase it at all. Okay. And I've got Loctite. It's going into plastic, you guys. I'm not doing torque specs. We are going to build a saw at some point. Side by side, we'll do two. One with a torque screwdriver, putting them to the specifications and the Stihl service manual, and one just guessing and see how close we get. So that's that. All right. I'm going to, for sake of the time of the video, I'm going to go ahead and do just a little bit more, hopefully, and then we'll move on. Now we've already got our flywheel on, we've got our coil on, our coil is all hooked up, our wires are run correctly over here. We should theoretically be able to put our recoil cover on without it getting in our way. I do want to, since I've done new seals and stuff, I like to, as I'm going, just kind of turn things, get those new crankshaft seals, everything kind of just moving, and don't let nothing stiffen up wrong. Okay, I can hear there's a very good vacuum creating on my bottom end, and this has only been setting with Permatex for a few hours. Now, I didn't check it. I should have, before I put this cover on, just check the operation of my chain brake. It's engaging, disengaging, handles nice, and it's not flopping around. Of course, it's only got one screw, but once we get this collar on, that chain brake won't do this back and forth. That's what that one metal lever looking thing we did in there was that I bent up. All right, so your recoil on these, you've got a couple of things to contend with. You've got your chain brake handle that's going to go over this, and you've got to get it up under your top cover. So I'm just going to bend the chain brake handle kind of up out of the way a little bit. It's pretty strong plastic, and I'm going to work that into its spot. It's setting good. I grab my collar screw and 3 other of the T25s. On the old models, Stihl was real good about limiting how many different screws they used. New models, not so much. Again, you guys, I use Loctite. I can't remember, boy, if Stihl's service manuals call for Loctite on all these screws or not, but I like to use it. It just gives me a sense of security and assurance that screws aren't going to rattle out on you when you buy this chainsaw from me. This chainsaw that I probably won't make any money on, but I sure do enjoy putting it together, especially when I get to do a video. I'm starting to like the video taking on the phone since I bought a big memory chip, and deciding that I might not, I I might not do before and during photos of some of these saws anymore, unless it's a vintage one. I definitely like the vintage, and by vintage I mean like the 266 SE Husky I've got down there. Okay, there we go. Okay. That one wasn't down as far as I thought it was. A little bit of turning to do on that one there. That's why I like to use the impact or a drill. I don't recommend using an impact. I really got to get a gentler drill. Just haven't had the chance yet. And I'm always cautious about where I spend my money, because right now I'm supporting this hobby with credit cards. So sometimes it's not so easy to spend the money for me. Okay, that's done. So there's our recoil. This is old style, so it's screw-on caps. I think I have new caps for this, but we will scrounge with our caps. That's a really kind of self-explanatory thing. Here, I'll grab one to show you guys for sake of showing you. This is just going to hook down here inside your gas tank. You will essentially get that below that little groove. Get that below the groove. Push it, the string, just the string, have your thing, hold the string in the groove and then pull up on that. And then just kind of pull it to snug it in there, and that's done. I see a little debris in my gas tank I want to get out real quick. This is quality, you guys. This is quality right here. I don't want that in my gas tank. I have already flushed this gas tank, but it's been sitting with air compressor getting blown around a shop and other various things. And so some dust can get in there because I didn't have a cap on it. A little bit more down there I want to get off. Okay, I like it. Alright, that looks pretty darn good. Alright, nice and clean. That didn't want too bad there. Okay, so now mufflers are not done. That's pretty self-explanatory on this saw too. You'll have two bolts, a heat shield goes on, a gasket goes on, muffler goes on. You got two 8mm nuts that you put on that. What else do we have to do to this saw? We've got the carburetor, the grommets. For that, you guys, are going to look like this. Now, I've already got one for this saw that I've sealed with blue gasket sealer. You have to be extremely careful if you do that with a carb or an intake gasket. You have to be careful. You don't want to plug the little holes up that are crucial, like this one, to the function of the saw. That's an impulse hose. That's where your impulse hose pulsates your metering diaphragm, your pump diaphragms and everything for your carburetor. So you got to have that. All right, so that will go slide on here. Oh, before we do that, let's go ahead and hook up our one wire. Is a little bit easier. This one, the green one, just hooks on down here to this part of the kill switch. And it wouldn't technically matter which wire hooks up to which end of this, but you've got a long one and a short one, so you only have one option. Okay, now I'm going to put this on. It is a little bit easier to go ahead and hook your fuel line up before you slide your carb on these. As long as you have your throttle lever out of the way, it's much easier to work your carb. So we'll just little press oil, push that all the way on. With this one, your high and lows, almost all Stihls are on the right side. Your throttle lever is on your left. Get that wire out your way. Okay, it seems that we might have caught on something. There we go. It just wasn't straight. I didn't want to knock that intake gasket and grommet off. So that's that. Now, I'm just trying to make sure. I think. Yeah, see, there was a gas cap I could have showed you guys for sakes. This doesn't really have much tool mark in it, so we'll probably reuse it. And we'll just replace the rubber seal. Let's see. we have a grommet that goes on our carburetor, and these will be different. Sometimes there's only one screw on these. This one has set up for 2, and actually I like this one a little better. It's a little, that little lip is not broken off. Always use the nicest stuff first, guys, is what I do. And that this will be my highest priced 025 because it's the prettiest. The others are just as functional and won't have parts that are not good, usable. They just might not be as pretty, and so then I'm willing a little bit to negotiate on price more. Okay, now we've got a throttle lever. Now we have the red ones are from the really old 025s, and there is no difference in these, you guys. The main thing to make sure you look for on these is wear, and make sure everything holds tight. And you got to be careful when you put this in. I like to lubricate this. We'll just do press oil. You can use spit if it's your chainsaw, even if it's your not. Just don't tell people you're spitting on their saw. They might not like it too much. Some might not care. I wouldn't care. Nah, I don't care if you spit on my fuel line and my lever. Whatever, it's just going to get dirty. A little spit never hurt nobody. That would be me. And probably half my neighbors. But, okay, so I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. I'm just working it up under this little lever. Normally I don't have to use a screwdriver to get it under the spring there, the kill switch. But then you just work that in to this groove, and then it will snap down into the other one. Very carefully, just shimmy it in there. Okay, check the operation of it before we hook anything up to it. It is working as it should. Great. So I just checked everything. I checked, that's one down. To go further, we pull our trigger in. There's all the way down. If we were to have our saw hooked up trying to start it, we've had it pop. We click 1, pull the trigger, and it lets this go. So we know everything's functioning properly. We're going to go ahead and hook up the kill wire. Okay, now that we've got the kill wire hooked up, we have, let's see, on this one, I do believe that the air filter housing will go on next. I must grab one of those. And that was another one. I didn't have very many of them because a lot of the 025s did not have that setup. And I know I have them. I just must think where I've placed them. I thought they would be in my box right there, but they are not. So bear with me, guys. I thought they were right here. I'm perplexed why they're not in the box with all my other. I would think they would have been. I worked real hard to keep this stuff square. There they are, I think. Just had to dig a little deeper. Yep. Okay. Now I am not going to put the air filter on yet, you guys, because even though I'm working on a clean saw, there's just a little bit of stuff I don't want to get on the air filter. So now this one's dirty still a little bit. And I'll have to order a couple of, I'll probably order aftermarkets because, I mean, these are just plastic. The aftermarkets are usually okay. And you can get them with a filter pretty cheap. So we'll do that. I will show you guys. These are the air filters. I buy these in bulk, aftermarket. That one you can tell, I have that one on top. It's had some blowback hit it. So that will be the filter I test with, and that would have dried before I put it back in the box. But we still don't want to get those filters all smudgy and oilied up and stuff. So I will like to clean my hands before I touch that. Close my press oil here. All right, now we're going to have two 8mm bolts and our choke lever, our throttle lever, and our choke lever. So there's a throttle lever, or I'm sorry, a choke lever. There is a throttle lever. Two of these 8mm bolts with built-in washer. And that saw is ready to have that put on, and it will be almost complete, you guys. This one's almost done. It's almost ready for testing. We got to wait until like 2 in the morning, which it's fantastic living in the country. My neighbors don't care if I run chainsaws all night long. It doesn't bother them. And that's fantastic when you're constantly having to break saws in. Now, I did not put these bolts on yet, because I'm just liking to make sure everything's going to line up okay before I snug all this down. Okay, as that throttle lever, sorry guys, it'll just go in and hook on your carb. So you've got your carburetor on your saw, right? This is just going to go up under here, and it's going to hook right into that groove on your carb. That's step one. And once you've hooked that in, and you can feel your throttle pushing, I kind of hold it right here. It's easiest for me because it doesn't turn. And then you're going to pull your trigger up, and my hand's in the way, but it's going to sit in the groove that comes out, your trigger. And you're just going to gently push that down into there. Check and make sure it's working. I'm going to hold the filter housing. I'm going to turn my saw off. Everything's functioning. We'll go ahead and put our 8 mils on. Now, I suppose there's a debate. I don't know. Everybody says something different as to how tight you need to tighten certain screws and nuts and stuff. That would be wise. There's a service manual with torque specifications, but not everybody has a service manual or understands how to find them on the internet free. Or, you know, they might not want to pay for one on the internet. Or even be able to find one that they can buy on the internet that's immediately accessible if you're working on the saw. So this does go to a rubber grommet. I kind of just have a feel for, I like to go a little bit tighter on stuff usually, and sometimes that does get me in trouble because I strip screws, but they're old saws. Fortunately, Stihl makes a screw you can buy specifically for replacing the stripped out plastic with a machine screw. They have a special screw you can buy. I'm sure you can find them, but not with a T25 head. So I usually just go on and give them their $1 something they want for their screw. It's kind of crazy, but I like to do things right. Coffee. Well, guys, I had about 3 hours of sleep, which I'm going to take as a victory right now, because prior to that, I had been sleeping a lot really well. Too much, actually. All right, now we're going to go ahead and do our wrap handle. When it comes to the wrap handles, they pretty much, I just kind of use whatever's there that doesn't need as many AV annullers replaced. That one was loose. I do have to replace that one. Grab a different handle here. With these being old saws, these rubbers, you know, you can just leave them if they're not ripped, but some of them are just too loose, and I think the AV system will not be as tight as it's supposed to be. And it's a refurbished saw, so it should be a tight AV system. These rubbers are in really good condition, and I'm almost willing to bet they've been replaced at some point. Alright, so on our 025 handle, this is a long video, 53 minutes. Normally I would have assembled an entire 025 in 53 minutes, and maybe 2 or 3 of them. This handle is going to sit in its grooves. And again, sometimes it's just a matter of shimmying things into place, you guys, and being patient. Just getting everything to line up just right. Get this cap out of my way. Okay. There. That's that. This is going to have, I think, 6, if I remember right, 6 of those T25 screws. And again, I'm going to do all Loctite. I don't always love doing Loctite. And I didn't actually vacuum pressure test this saw. And sometimes, I guess I don't always do it before I go test it. I don't know that it's ever been too much of a problem. I rarely ever have an air leak on these. I'm always real careful because I don't like taking saws back apart, so I try real hard to make sure I do that base gasket to where it's not going to leak, and I give it more than 24 hours just to be safe, because the Permatex, the MotoSeal in different weather can take longer. So there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sorry, 6. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I got to replace that AV annuller. I don't know if I can do it with it on the saw. Let's find out. I'll just put 1 screw in for now. I thought I grabbed a handle that didn't need new rubbers. That's okay. We've got rubbers and I've got more. So this I think is it says the part number traces back to the 200-200T because I bought these in a lot, and it's the 1127 series. I can't remember what the series is on the 250s. Let's see. They're the 1123, but you guys, the annuller is it's identical. I think the only difference is one's gray and one's white, and these saws have gray and white on them. So that's it. That's going to go down here, and it looks like with just that one screw I can, let's see. Nah, I think we'll just get our handle out of the way. Sometimes I try to fight with stuff because I don't want to undo things, but we'll just move it. It's not that hard to put this handle back in here. Alright, so this AV annuller is going to go in the chassis first, because then there's going to be the T25 that goes through and holds the handle to it. So that would be why I didn't recognize that rubber missing. So press oil, again, you guys, they say the only thing it says on the manual for these is you just got to work it in a groove. You just got to work it in. And when they're new, they are stiff, and it is not always easy, I promise you. Sometimes they go real easy, sometimes they don't. My channel locks, I only have the cheap pliers in the shed here, the Walmart stuff. We have nicer stuff, but it's all in toolboxes. And so when I first got here, we was working with the crappy tools because we didn't have a lot of options. We didn't want to work with stuff that in a TIFF we might have left outside. Ow, damn, that's going to be a good bloody one. Okay, bear with me, guys. This is part of the job, unfortunately. That was a good one for a screwdriver cut. That went deep. Yeah, I can feel it. That one's deep. That's going to be some split skin there. That's going to be butterfly stitches. Woo! Yeah, stings. Woo, that one will heat you up. Okay. I'm looking for my duct tape. I don't see it. Ooh, damn, that's bleeding good. So we're going to do another redneck band-aid that I like. I'll show you guys this redneck band-aid. We're just going to wrap it. Ah, boy. Yeah, that's kind of turning into a gusher there. Okay, we're going to wrap it and put a glove on. I do need a little piece of tape or something because it's not going to hold. I thought I had duct tape right here. We'll use clear tape. Just enough to hold that paper towel in place for us to get the glove over it. No editing here, you guys. That's the life. I don't know how to edit videos, and so there is no editing. We just roll with it and keep going. Alright, so I cut myself. We'll just be more careful. I told you these these new ones can be a beast. The older ones, as they're worn and stuff, they're a lot easier to get in, trust me. This is just a very stiff one because it's brand new. And actually, I think it was in the wrong bag because that says 1130 on it, not 1127. So, I'm certain that rubber was in the wrong bag. Woo! Yes, sir. All right. Let's get this bad boy in here. We're just going to grab it little bits at a time here, very carefully. Try and work it through. Almost there. Again, you guys, I'm not showing you exactly. I'm not trying to get a close camera angle here because they literally just tell you to work these things in the service manual. I mean, it's kind of crazy. When I read it, I thought for years there's got to be a better way to do this, and I haven't found one. This one I'm really struggling with, though. It seems when I'm on camera I struggle more so. Wow. I might have to go get some good pliers. My other channel locks that I have out here suck. I even have some on the front porch I could go grab. That's the stubbornness. There we go. Too much, but we'll back it out. Wow. That was tough. Goodness sakesness. Now I got to get it back out to where it's got to be flush. Yeah, wow. These are never easy when they're brand new. Okay. I felt that just pop in where it wants to be. We are good to go. That is on. Fantastic. Fingers filling up with blood already. That's fantastic too. My daddy used to tell me if you ain't bleeding, sweating, or crying, you ain't working hard enough. And so my daddy'd tell me you better work harder. Makes a guy want to go cut his finger open. Look, Daddy, I'm bleeding. Am I working hard now, Daddy? I get a popsicle, Daddy. It's 120 degrees outside here in Florida, Daddy. Okay, I'm not in Florida, you guys, but that's where I grew up. All right, now, shall we try it again, guys? Shall we try our handle here again? Ooh, my finger hurts. Yeah. I do find a lot of times it's easiest just to go on and, all right, go on and tip the saw on its front end when I'm working on these handles initially. Okay, we'll just snug. 2 on the bottom here, you guys, of these T25s connecting your, can you see that? No, I gotta tilt you up some. Connecting your rear and wrap handle. Just gonna snug that up. This is plastic to plastic with a middle screw. We don't want to strip it. These have Loctite on them. Just snugging them for now, and then we'll hand tighten everything. That's I think the best way to do it. I have arthritis, so sitting here turning a wrench for all these little screws would kill me. I couldn't do this. 1 more, 2 more. I believe it's 6 total. Got our 1 in the front, our 2 underneath, 1 in the side so far. 2 more to go in the side here. Okay, Loctite on both. 1 goes in here. And this will screw to the chassis. We want to make sure it goes in the hole properly. It did. These screws, you guys, are just famous for stripping out. They're plastic. They're going into plastic stuff. I mean, the screws are not plastic. And so I find them stripped out quite a bit. And like I said, Stihl does make a screw, but if it's just slightly, I think a extra goober gobber of Loctite oftentimes would be good enough for a guy working on his own saw. And I would, in fact, do it to my own saw, and I do it to my ugly duckling saws if I have to, because $1 something per screw can get expensive. But if it's going to be one of my high dollar, top of the market priced saws like this one, this will be top of the market 025. We don't do that kind of stuff. All right, that's that. So now the wrap handle's on. So what does the saw have left that it needs, you guys? A spark plug. What spark plug does the Stihl 025 take? Well, the service manual, I believe, says CJ7Y, or it might have been RCJ7Y. I don't remember. But the most important thing about a spark plug is to make sure it's rated high enough for your equipment. This is a CJ7Y. It's supposed to be RCJ7Ys. I don't know why they always send me the CJ. It's supposed to have the resistor in it. So I still use these and they work great. Or you can use NGK BPMR 7A. that plug will also work great. I buy all this stuff in bulk. Still don't get much of a discount, but on spark plugs anyways. But I'm going to use these TJ7Ys. They've been working great for me. Now with a spark plug, I never, ever, ever trust the gap. And so it's supposed to be 20 thou. 0.2, I'm sorry. I think that's 20 thou. And so I'm just going to check my gap here, because a lot of times the factory gap is wrong when you order a ton of this stuff. I don't know why, but I just never trust the factory gap on a spark plug ever. On any piece of equipment ever have I trusted that. Now, I like to use Loctite on my spark plug. Why? Your spark plug is something that you should probably replace every year or two, but the reality is nobody does. The thing will work for a long, long time. And there's really, in my opinion, not too much reason, if you're maintaining everything else on your saw, to have to take your spark plug out too much. I also do that because they say that once you've used the spark plug once, you're not supposed to use it again because the crush washer might not seal properly. So I think it's good if a guy is at home and he's reusing his spark plug, he's just cleaned it. I strongly recommend some kind of just thin bead of Permatex or Loctite on your spark plug there, because if you get a pinhole air leak at your spark plug and you don't know it, and your saw is not presenting signs of running bad, you can blow your saw up. Air leaks kill saws, you guys. They just kill saws. Okay, so that's it. We have left on the back air filter housing, and that's it. This saw will be done, minus the muffler and a couple of odds and ends. The chain catch on these is on the clutch cover. I did recently discover Stihl makes a, or at least in the service manual for the 025, there's a chain catch attachment that can attach here where that little nub's supposed to go in. Let me show you. Let me get a clutch cover. They're almost always broken off, you guys, and so that's another thing I'm contemplating, whether I want to buy used and not care about the broken off chain catches, or I want to buy some aftermarkets. So you can see this is my nicest clutch cover. I only have 3 right now, but this is almost always broke off. And the only problem is the service manual doesn't have the part number, and my Stihl guy doesn't seem to know what I'm talking about. So I got to go up and show him the service manual. But we've got our chain catch in. This needs a bumper strip here and here. So we will grab 2 bumper strips. I think this is the correct size, which means I think it's these. That is not the correct one. I thought I had the right ones for this. That is the correct one. I wish Stihl just made one for all of this application. That is the correct one. It just didn't look like it. It doesn't appear to be on the top though. So I'm going to look at the design here of one that come off. It does appear that this is the incorrect size. I need to go through my bumper strips and organize them as to what's what size. So that is incorrect. I don't know if I actually have any 250s left. Let me see here. I don't have no part numbers on these right now. No, that's for the 290s. I know it is. So I just like to replace these because they look better. The saws look better when these are replaced, not just cleaned. But for now, whilst I look for other ones, I'm just going to put a used one on there. That way, just in case I don't find any in my stock, there is one on there and we don't forget. So that's that. I believe it would just be our clutch cover, which will not go on yet. Actually, yeah, I'll just put it on for now. Get some just one bar nut bolt here because it's going to come off to get barred back up, and it'll come off when I'm letting it warm up because I like to make sure that my clutch is not rubbing my sprocket and stuff. Boy, if I can get a nut on here. Huh. Touche. Maybe not. Goodness. Okay, that thread must have got nicked So we'll work on that a little later. Yeah, this is struggling here. What is going on? This is a steel nut. There we go. And it's just the life of a small engine guy. Sometimes your bar nuts are snug and you don't know why. So we just put it on, and what we're going to do is when we go to test this saw, we're going to figure out why that's that tight. Because it really shouldn't be. I know I'm not. If you send me a saw that I got to do this every time I got to bar it up, I got to use a wrench to turn my bolt that far, I'm sending you your saw back. Give me my money back. So we will fix that. I will not send a saw out like that. That would be absurd. That's it, you guys. Let's go ahead and forsake showing you. Here, I'm going to grab a glove so I don't get air filter dirty. I'm going to grab a test filter. This is very self-explanatory. Now, if you buy an aftermarket, sometimes they don't fit. Don't think it's you. These I oftentimes do have to modify just a tiny bit. These don't quite fit in the housing, and so like this seems to be one of them. I've used this one though, so I just want to make sure I've got it squared. There we go. And you can see that plastic is just like a little bit too much there. So I have had to shave these just a little bit, and I think that will be the case with this one. Right now, you guys, it's just a test filter. It's coming back off. When I put yours on, I will make sure it's not that hard to work, because I think it would, again, be absurd. So that's that. And then all you do, your air filter cover. Slides right on there. You get your twist knob on. Boom. We just got to do us a muffler for that. And by do us a muffler, I mean these ain't the prettiest things in the world. And so we'll sand them down, strip them, and then we will prime and paint them with 2K high temp flame proof paint, and then we'll bake them. It's kind of fun baking paint. It's a little weird. Okay, so that's it, you guys. This is going to wrap up the see, I'm noticing things that's not lining up properly. We don't want that. So that will be one of those things I have to ensure I figure out why is it doing that. Okay, we just want to make sure everything's right before we send a saw. So this isn't even in the test phase yet, but I like to figure out what could cause that stuff and make sure I rectify it. It could be that aftermarket air filter not lined up properly too. And worst case scenario, I do have OEM air filters. No, this is going to be the housing. That's the 290s hooked to the air filter, not this one. So we'll have to shimmy some things, it looks like. I'm going to try a different cover real quick. This one's not as pretty, and I wanted to keep it with the plastic that it matches, but I'm just trying it to see if I have the same issue, and that way I can eliminate that it's my air filter cover. I am having a little bit of struggle getting it into this filter housing, so I think that's where my issue lies, is that filter housing might be messed up. Yeah, see, because there's still a seam there that doesn't quite mesh together. So we'll have to tinker with that. That's why they call us tinkerers. We have to sit there and play with it. It could be 2, 3, 4 hours just to solve that little issue that's not even that big of a deal. But that to me, if it's not lined up properly, you know, how can I call that? How can I justify calling that a refurbished saw? I really can't. Okay, so we're just going to tinker with it. Not right now, but we will. In the meantime, I just want to get it put back together. That's it. So, boom. There you go. That's a Stihl MS2 or 025. That spring in there is a little bit looser than I think it should be. We might go back in and replace that. I don't know. I'll have to see how that moves while I'm cutting and bouncing the saw around. We don't want it doing that. We don't want it doing this while you're cutting. We want it to stay in its place, and that's what that spring, that lever we put in was supposed to do. So it feels like it's not quite doing its job properly. But that's part of the tinkering process. We work all those kinks out before we send a saw out. So that's it, you guys. smallengineredemption@gmail.com. Hour and 15 minutes. So not really bad, you guys. If you kind of have an idea what you're doing, you can do this stuff pretty quick. Just it's all the little things that you run into that take the time. Cutting your finger open with a thing, working these things in. That's the longest part of these saws. So smallengineredemption@gmail.com. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know if you want me to do a specific part, short video, how to do something zoomed in, close up on this particular saw while I've got them on my bench, because I'll be actively posting videos as I'm building these, and we've got 5 more to go. So if you guys want to see something very specific, very tuned in, if you ask on any of these videos if I've still got these left to do, or I've got one in front of me, I'm happy to oblige. God bless you.